Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today's video is going to be a continuation of my chopping block series, and I uploaded the first video at like the beginning of the summer, and then I did an update a month or two later. I'm usually very decisive about decluttering products. I'll open up my drawer and say, I don't use these products, they're old, they're expired, it's time to declutter them. But there are occasions where I'm just not sure if I want to declutter a product. So rather than just leaving it in my makeup drawer, I pull it out and I put it on the chopping block, which is metaphorical, and I give myself a month or two to really thoroughly test out the product and decide, because if I don't necessarily use it or I don't fall in love with it, I don't want to keep it, but there is a chance that it can be an old or rediscovered favorite and I can fall back in love with it. So this is just the intro video. In a month or two, I will come back and update you on which products I kept, which ones I decluttered. A lot of people are like, why don't you try them on and decide on the spot? But if I could decide on the spot, I guess I wouldn't really have to do the chopping block. I like to give myself the chance to thoroughly test them and use them with different makeup combinations and on different days and different application methods. So sometimes it's fun to talk about products that I've had in my collection for a while and what I'm doing with them, rather than always talking about new products. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, I will link my chopping block playlist in the description box below, and let's jump into it. Okay, so I'm going to start with two setting sprays. One is actually a primer and setting spray, so you can use it either way. I don't use a setting spray regularly in my makeup routine, but so many people do. So I kind of feel like I'm probably missing out on something, and I'm committing to using these two products for the next month or two to decide whether or not they make a difference in my makeup routine. The first one is the Too Faced Hangover RX 3-in-1 Replenishing Primer and Setting Spray. So I actually do use the Smashbox Primer Water, which is a priming spray, and I don't think I realized that you can actually use this one as a priming spray or a setting spray. So I am going to try it both ways. I've had it in my collection for a little while, and honestly, I don't even think I've used it one time. So I do want to test it out before I decide whether or not to keep it. I'm also going to be testing out the Urban Decay All Nighter makeup setting spray. Again, I've had this in my collection for so long. I actually have a mini one that I have used a few times, but I've never really used it regularly enough to decide whether or not it's making a difference. I will be thoroughly testing out these two products and making sure I can decide whether or not I think they're worth the money and worth having in my collection. So definitely stay tuned for that. But let me know if you guys use a setting spray or if you think it's just like an unnecessary step. So I found these in my collection the other day and I completely forgot about these. These are from Wet n Wild. They are the MEGALAST Liquid CATSUIT Matte Lipsticks. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about them. I know that I've used them in the past. There was a period where everybody was in love with these and raving about them, but I kind of forgot about them. So I do want to test them out again to see if I like them. If I don't like them, it would be nice to have a really good, affordable liquid lipstick option that I can share and recommend, but honestly, I completely forgot about them. So this is an interesting product. It's from E.L.F. It is their Beauty Shield SPF 50 Skin Shielding Primer. I remember the first time I used this, I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought it was a tinted BB cream because it was like a moussey whipped texture. It was very moisturizing and has a little bit of a tint to it. And then as I read about it, I realized it was actually a primer. My primer tastes have changed a little bit recently. I'm really into hydrating primers. So now I feel like this actually might be a great option for me. I just don't know if it's going to be too heavy on the skin. I don't like anything that's too heavy that sits on top of the skin when it comes to primers. So I definitely want to test this one out thoroughly with different foundations to see if it will work well for me. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted. The Too Faced I Want Candy Banana Pudding Brightening Face Powder is a really good product. I do really like this. It was part of the Too Faced Candy Johnson collab that came out last fall, but they just released their new Tutti Frutti collection, which does have a banana powder in it as well, and I've really been enjoying that one a lot. I also like a banana powder from Essence. So I don't know if I necessarily need to keep this one in my collection any longer. It's been a little while since I've tried it because those are the two that I've been reaching for. So I do want to give this one a fair shot to see whether or not it is worth keeping in my collection or if I've kind of replaced it with those other banana powders. Okay, I've gone back and forth about this product so many times, and I thought I ended up decluttering it from my collection, but it's in my drawers, so I don't know. Maybe I changed my mind and I put it back. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I have not been using it regularly. That being said, I've changed the way that I do use powders, so I actually might end up loving this again. It is the Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten foundation in Fair. I used to just stipple on powder. That was the only way I applied it. But recently I've been going a little bit lighter, and I'll just take like a large fluffy brush and just kind of lightly buff it over my whole face. So I think this might actually be a great option. The reason I did not like it for a while was because it is like a marbleized product, so I wouldn't get an even application, and certain areas of my face would look darker, certain areas would look lighter. But now that I really like tend to buff on powder rather than just like stipple it on, this actually might be a good powder to have in my collection. So we will see. I will try it out during the month of October and decide if I think it is worth keeping. Okay, so this is a product that I loved and then I didn't like and then I loved again and then I didn't like. So I decided to put it on my chopping block and decide once and for all if it's worth keeping in my collection. It is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. I have two shades. I have Porcelain and Soft Ivory. Here's the thing about this foundation. For a while, I couldn't find a good cruelty-free drugstore foundation. So I kind of felt like I had to keep this in my collection, but I have discovered the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation, the Catrice HD Liquid Foundation, and I love both of those. They're affordable, they're drugstore. So now that I have those, I'm not necessarily, I don't feel as much pressure to want to love this, but at the same time, I've gone a little bit lighter with foundation, so I might actually enjoy it. I need to just test it out again and commit to using it to decide whether or not I want to keep it in my collection. I just go back and forth on this formula. I feel like there are other formulas that I like better, but at the same time, maybe it still has a place in my collection. I'm not sure. I kind of feel like I'll probably end up decluttering this one. I just want to make sure. And then I do have the Urban Decay Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealers. I have two shades. I have Fair, Neutral, and Light Warm. I really loved this concealer at one point, but I haven't reached for it in a long time. My go-to concealer is the new Born This Way, like full coverage concealer. And before that, I was using the ColourPop concealer for like a year. So the other concealers in my collection have just kind of been sitting in there. So I decided that I need to slowly start incorporating them into my makeup routine to decide if I want to keep them in my collection or declutter them, because there are a few. There's at least like 4 or 5 different concealers in my collection. So we will see. This is one that I do remember loving, but again, it's been a long time since I've used it regularly. So I am going to thoroughly test it out again before I decide to keep it or declutter it. So the J.CAT Beauty You Glow Girl Baked Highlighter in Twilight is a product that I actually have not even used at all. I've had it in my collection for a little while. I got it from Shop Hush when I was placing an order for some of the palettes, and it's really beautiful. I hear really, really good things about these highlighters. This one might actually be a little bit too dark for me now that I'm looking at it, but I'll test it out because I have swatched it. I have it in my collection, so I might as well give it a shot to see if I like the formula, because I have heard really good things, and then at least I'll know if I like the formula. I can try a different shade, or maybe I'll like using it as a highlighter, or no, as an eyeshadow. It's just one of those newer products that I never really got around to using. And the last product is from Catrice. This is the Absolute Rose eyeshadow palette. This palette has a lot of beautiful colors in it, so it's one that's kind of made it through my declutters over the years because it is like a cooler toned palette. It has some like lighter neutrals, some darker purple shades, and it is affordable. I like to have a good mix of affordable and high-end products in my collection just to compare them and recommend them, and these shadows seem to work well, so I definitely want to commit to using it and seeing if, you know, I fall back in love with it. These are definitely shades that I will wear. There are some beautiful colors in here, so I will definitely test it out. I think the formula is good. It's just whether or not I'm going to use it regularly enough to keep it in my collection, so I will definitely keep you guys posted. So those are all of the products that are on my current chopping block. I'm going to test them over the months. Well, definitely October, maybe November, just we'll see how I feel at the end of the month. And then I'll let you guys know if I think they're worth keeping or decluttering. If you guys use any of these products in your makeup routines regularly, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think, how you use them, if you have any tips and tricks. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.